In the movie, Doc asks him who else Marty had interacted today, besides himself, and Marty says,
"Yeah, well, I might have sort of bumped into my parents."
Here in Booktopia, Marty does say that, and goes on to say that he also ran into his grandparents and Biff Tannen. He mentions him by name, because of course everyone in Hill Valley knows about high school student Biff Tannen. Note, I've just decided that I do actually believe this to be true, but before we get to that we get some amazing vintage Gipe, because what else did Marty do today?
Well, I went to the movies. Do you think the fact that the town took in an extra 50 cents today will change the course of history? Don't be smart, Doc Brown replied.
And here Doc Brown begins to flip his lid. In the movie it was more credible, because as soon as Doc has his accidentally change the future idea, he says,
"Great Scott! Let me see that photograph again of your brother."
Finds proof that he's correct about the future being changed, so his paranoia about altering the past is justified. Bam. But here he's just making things up without looking for proof and talking entirely out of his butt. And talk he does.
That's a tiny item, but it could happen. Let's suppose the theater operator is looking at the balance sheet one day and thinking about selling. Maybe that extra 50 cents pushed the receipts from $999.75 to $1,000.25. That is, it goes from 3 figures to 4 figures. That might be the psychological difference between keeping the theater or selling it. So, influenced by the extra 50 cents, he keeps it. Not long afterward, when the theater would be closed if he'd sold it, a fire starts and some people are trapped inside. One of them is a youngster who's destined to become President of the United States, except that now he's dead. "And I did it," Marty muttered. "I killed him with my 50 cents.
I love how Marty buys into this wholesale. He actually thinks he's responsible for killing a man. I get the point Doc's trying to make, but it's weird he's describing it in terms of how many lives taken and murders Marty is personally responsible for. Anyway, heads up, by subtly altering traffic patterns today and throughout your entire life, both by taking cars, buses, bikes and skateboards, and those times you didn't take cars, buses, bikes or skateboards, you've caused several people to be killed in car accidents and or not be killed in car accidents who would have otherwise survived or died. It is all your fault. Think about it, you monster. Pages 137 to 138. So Marty recounts the events of the day and even considers them rather bland. You know, the usual, traveled through time, blah blah blah, got hit by a car, blah blah blah, until he sees how deeply they're affecting Doc. Doc's all,
"Good Lord. You prevented your parents from having their initial meeting?"
And Marty's all,
"Yeah, but no bigs, they go to the same school."
And finally Doc gets the picture and looks at it and we get the
"Erased from existence"
line. And Marty actually admits to acting dumb.
"I don't understand this," Marty said. "Or maybe I do, but I don't want to."
Ha ha ha, amazing. Book Marty, this explains so much. The movie jumps to Marty and Doc at the school the next day, but didn't you always wonder where Marty got those new 50s clothes from? The book reveals all, and I have good news, it involves Marty acting like a little child.
An hour later, Doc returned from the local Sears, Roebuck with a shopping bag filled with the complete outfit.
And this just 2 pages after Marty was killing people by supporting local businesses that he wouldn't have otherwise supported. Remember, crappy Doc? You all but called him a murderer? How many families did you murder at Sears, Roebuck, Doc? Doc says Marty will have to go to school to make sure his parents meet. Marty, because he's suddenly a baby, says he doesn't wanna.
School was boring in 1985. When I think how dull 1955 will be, it blows my mind.
But Doc insists that they use every moment they have to fix this. Then Doc finishes dressing Marty in his new shirt and pants. He pulls out some
Vaseline hair tonic.
George Gipe is writing. Of course there's a brand name, and Marty curls his lip.
Look, Doc, he murmured. I'll admit that these threads are pretty cool. But you're not putting that greasy shit in my hair.
Doc tells him all the cool kids are doing it, and as that logic works on children, Marty agrees but worries that Vaseline in his hair will give him cancer, literally not making this up. Doc then combs his hair for him. Because Marty is 7. Marty then grabs the comb, "Allow me," he says, and combs his hair like hell.
If I'm gonna go through with this, he explained, at least I'm gonna look like Elvis. Elvis? What's Elvis? Doc Brown asked. You'll find out.
And again, future Dick Marty, and again, Doc being a crappy doc and asking what's Elvis? And not who is Elvis? Despite the syntax of the sentence clearly indicating that a proper name is being used. Marty didn't say at least I'm gonna look like an Elvis, did he, Doc? Gosh. Anyway, Marty is now a boy who looks like Elvis, and around here at this point in the book I probably shouldn't be so hard on Doc and Marty. They're both up very late, and they probably just have trouble acting normal when they're nervous.